So my name is Molly Attil,
And I'm Liz Alkoskas.
and together we work together to prepare this presentation of the play Mother Earth versus the World's People. So Mother Earth versus the World's People is what I call a open source play written by Doug Stewart in 2004-2005. And I call it open source because he wrote it such that he gave permission for people to take parts out, add parts in, and basically create the play so that it fits their particular occasion. And it also allows for updating. So the play was written in 2005, now it's 2022, and some updating has been done in the particular version you're about to see. We're going to do what's called a stage reading, and what that means is that the actors will be reading from the script on camera. The reason for this is that we are using actors who are amateurs, all of whom tend to be members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Manchester. So most people, certainly maybe not all of the people in this particular play, but most amateurs have a tendency to freeze up at some point during the play and forget their lines or get lost in the lines. So this way they have the security of holding the script in their hand, and they have, therefore, the freedom to emote more, to ad-lib a little bit, to add a little humor to the play and basically enjoy themselves so that the audience can enjoy the film.
Why do you think it's important to air down?
So I first became involved in the environmental movement in the early 90s, and I think the early 2000s I saw the movie An Inconvenient Truth by Al Gore. And I was, dutifully impressed by the information in that film. But at that time, the experts were saying we had perhaps to the end of the century, so 2100, to get our act together. And I figured that was a lot of time, so I'd do my part, but I kind of relaxed. Then I saw this play at the UU Manchester Church in 2010, and I became aware of even more of the intricacies of this particular phenomena. In particular, the idea of a feedback loop. So what's going on is, as the temperature of the atmosphere rises, there is carbon and methane that has been stored in the earth, under the ocean, in peat bogs, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And as the temperatures rise, this carbon, this ancient carbon, begins to seep out. So as that seeps out, it warms the atmosphere even more, and then more and more carbon comes out until it becomes a feedback loop, and human beings have no control over what's happening. So I figured that was a pretty serious situation, and that it was time that we brought this play, this information, in somewhat of a humorous fashion before more eyes, to get more people concerned about doing something, because scientists are now saying we've got maybe a handful of years to get our act together if we're going to avoid this feedback loop. So I say, let's get on with the movie.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please stand.
The jury may be seated. The International Court of last resort is now in session. What's going on here today, bailiff?
Your Honor, we have the case of Mother Earth versus World's People.
Really? What's the charge?
Mother Earth is charging World's People with acting in ways that cause her grievous personal harm and limit her inherent civil right to a fruitful existence.
That's a very serious charge, Mother Earth.
Yes, Your Honor, but it's a very serious situation. I have been
What
patient.
he said. I have been patient with World's People long enough. I'm here to take action.
This is most unusual. Mother Earth is really upset. Has she ever done this before?
I believe so, Your Honor. Just ask the dinosaurs.
Of course. The court rules this to be an important and valid case. Mother Earth, you may call your first witness.
Objection, Your Honor. This isn't fair. There's no solid proof of global warming. It's just the normal changes in temperature over centuries. ExxonMobil says it's so much hot air. Remember, the Earth was once covered in ice. It's ridiculous to accuse World's People of acting against Mother Earth. World's People are innocent, I tell you. I call for dismissal of all charges.
Ignorance of irresponsible behavior is no defense, sir. Objection overruled. You may proceed, Mother Earth.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I call Ms. Melting Glacier. Ms. Glacier, would you please tell the jury the location of your home?
Yes, ma'am. It's in the Rocky Mountain National Park, which is in Montana. That's where I was born.
And what is happening to you and your friends all over the world?
What is happening? Oh my gosh, we're shrinking. 86% of us around the world are melting. In 1890, when the Glacier National Park opened, there were 150 glaciers, all related to me. Now, there are only 37% of my relatives are left. 37% out of 150.
Can you please tell the jury what happens when you melt?
Gladly, Mother Earth. Because we're melting so fast, we're flooding the lands below us, washing out crops, bridges, sometimes entire villages.
And then?
And then, we're getting smaller and smaller, and we're afraid one day we'll be completely gone. I'm not ready to be a glass of water just yet.
And what if you do vanish, Ms. Glacier?
If we're completely gone, our runoff will also be gone. People will have no harvest to eat, no water to drink, to bathe in, or to wash their clothes. I don't know where the world's people would go, or what they would do. You know us very well, Mother Earth. Glaciers contain 24% of the world's fresh water. In Tibet and China alone, Your Honor, 300 million people depend on our runoff. What will people do? There'll be no rivers and no watersheds.
Ms. Glacier, what is causing you to rapidly melt?
It's getting too warm, Your Honor.
It is.
Much too warm. We've never had winters this warm for thousands and thousands of years. I don't care what anybody says. I want to cry, but even my tears are drying up.
Thank you, Ms. Glacier. Please step down carefully and no further running water, please. Thank you, Bailiff. Your Honor, for my next witness, I call Ms. Rising Oceans. Ms. Oceans, almost all of us around the world observe that you are rising. that if you continue before any century goes by, you will be covering many of my beautiful coastal cities, such as Tokyo, San Francisco, London, and New York. You'll also be covering the not-so-pretty ones, such as Mar-a-Lago. Buildings are collapsing in Florida. Tens of thousands of people are being displaced annually in Bangladesh.
Is it true, Ms. Oceans, that you will be covering many coastal regions?
I'm afraid it's true, Your Honor. World's people are burning fossil fuels, and they give off millions of pounds of carbon dioxide each year. Mother Earth's temperature continues to rise. As it gets warmer, glaciers calve, and that sends millions of gallons of water down to me. Thermal expansion makes me bigger and taller and higher. But it's not my fault, I tell you, it's not my fault.
Objection, Your Honor. Our own stable genius, the former president, has said that the jury is still out on humans causing global warming by burning fossil fuels. What about wind turbines? They cause cancer and kill thousands of eagles. The science is just too inconclusive. What would Mother Earth have us do? Walk? Bike? Take buses and trains to work?
Yeah, sure. Over 2,500 of the world's leading scientists have unanimously agreed that world's people's burning of fossil fuels is causing global warming, and the scenario that Ms. Oceans has just described.
2,500 scientists, you said?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's good enough for me. Objection overruled.
Now, Ms. Oceans, can you please tell the jury what else lies beneath your warming waters?
Out of sight on the bottom of some of my oceans are tons. Make that megatons, gigatons of the most powerful greenhouse gas, methane. Methane is 20 times more powerful than its more well-known cousin, carbon dioxide.
But methane is a gas, Ms. Rising Oceans. How does it form on the bottom of an ocean?
Well, sir, gases can be frozen. Well, gases can be liquefied, and liquids can be frozen, as I learned in high school. That's the state it's lying in, frozen on my cold seabed in the form of solid methane hydrate, kind of like methane ice.
And if you oceans get warm enough to start melting those tons and tons of methane hydrate,
all hell would break loose. Your Honor, it would cause what scientists are now calling methane burps. Excuse me. It would have the same effect as 9,000 cows gassing away in this chamber.
I get the disagreeable picture. What could you do to prevent such a disaster?
Frankly, sir, nothing. But don't blame me. It's the world's people. They continue to burn fossil fuels at the current rate. It will be lights out for the world's people. Mother Earth will survive as she has in the 5 previous extinctions on the planet. But the amount of methane will spell doom for almost every living thing on the planet, except, of course, for cockroaches and ticks.
Do you see now why I'm so angry?
I'm beginning to understand, Mother Earth. Extinction and cockroaches running parliaments and major corporations is just not, well, an option for most corporations.
Thank you, Ms. Rising Oceans. Your Honor, for my next witness, I call Mr. Pete Boggs.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth? Oh my God, I can't stand this guy, Your Honor. He stinks.
Why, thank you, sir. I've been working on that.
Mr. Boggs, you will not make a mockery of this court. Just please tell the members of the jury how large the Pete Boggs family is.
Gladly, sir. The largest branch of our family is in Siberia and is about the size of France and Germany combined. Our cousin Wade Boggs even played for the Red Sox in the dirt.
Combined? And isn't Siberia frozen?
Well, that explains the odoriferous thing, your judgeship. Most of my family has been frozen for 11,000 years, since the end of the last glaciation. I said glaciation correctly this time. As the tundra gets warmer, the methane that's been cooking under us all these years is getting released. Our permafrost has been sitting over 70 million tons of methane. And as we melt its Skeeter City with a gaseous chaser,
Whatever are you made of, Mr. Boggs?
or your usual dead, rotting plants and animal parts. Parts is parts.
Can you tell the jury what is happening to you now, Mr. Boggs?
Surely.
And don't call me Shirley.
Yes, ma'am. It's kind of complicated. Plants take in carbon dioxide and give off oxygen, right? But when a plant dies, it gives off methane, the dog poop of the planet.
Go on. Go on, Mr. Boggs.
Don't be bashful.
Things were cool as long as we've been frozen for thousands of years, but now we're just bursting with methane. I mean, really stinking up the joint with more hot air than the Kremlin.
This is unprecedented. The planet gets hotter, making permafrost melt, which makes the planet hotter. And what are you carrying, Mr. Boggs?
Why, this is a tip I got from these fellers who spend their summers looking at the coastline of Siberia in boats and with binoculars. This is a genuine woolly mammoth tusk. It was buried under the permafrost forever and a day, but not no more. This is big business. I sold one like this on eBay last week for $7 grand.
Mr. Boggs, I find your attitude self-centered. You can decompose on your own time. Your humor about this serious matter is inappropriate.
May I approach the bench, your judgeship?
This better be good.
Mr. Bailiff, will you please give that to the judge? Judge, I keep finding these in the tundra too. Do you think it's a dinosaur egg?
Mr. Boggs, I find you in contempt.
Well, that's awful mean, your hackership. Before you find me anything, is it okay if I go out in the hall and have a smoke?
No!
Don't blow us all up.
Thank you, Mr. Boggs. You may take your stinky self away. Your Honor, as my next witness, I call Mr. Fordosaurus. That is, if you can find a place big enough to park his vehicle. Welcome, Mr. Fordosaurus. How did you find a place large enough to park?
I just waited for the circus to leave town and went to the circus parking lot.
I'm not pleased to hear that, but please be seated, Mr. Fordosaurus. Try to make yourself comfortable.
We apologize that the chair is not hand-stitched, rich Corinthian leather with a built-in heater and all the bells and whistles. But we do what we can with the courthouse budget.
Well, if this is all you can do, okay.
That's a strange posture, sir.
Well, Your Honor, I'm used to sitting up higher than the other people on the road. Gives me a feeling of security and power, like I'm the big wagon train in town. Heck, I am a town.
I see. And this feeling of power is something you have to have, Mr. Fordosaurus.
Oh, you betcha. When the little woman and I are cruising around national parks, I can pretend I've got twin .50 caliber machine guns mounted on my roof, which I would really like. Any critters that I see, why, I just eyeball them through my binocular daytime, nighttime goggles and just blow them away. Well, so far just pretend.
Okay, so speaking of carnage, Mr. Fordosaurus, have you or your fake mercenary for hire buddies ever learned about the scientific concern about global warming, the warming of the global atmosphere caused in part by gas guzzlers like you?
Yeah, I think there was an article in National Geographic a while back that mentioned something about it. But I just look at the pictures just the way I used to do when they still got Playboy. But what's the point? I'm a businessman, man. And,
Don't call me ma'am.
not one of those overpaid academic pseudoscientific chicken littles who spend all day on CNN. Production is what's made this country great. Unfettered production has given us the world's best lifestyle. California is going to regulate its way into the ocean. Is it still part of the union?
Yes, thank you for your crash course in business, Mr. Fordosaurus. Speaking of production, would you be kind enough to share with the jury what kind of mileage production your vehicle gets on a gallon of gas?
Sure. It's rated at 16 miles per gallon. And don't tell anyone, I found a place right here in Manchester that whacked off the catalytic converter right off for 50 bucks. I was able to sell it to some kids for $4.50. The converter has precious metals in it, and precious is one of my favorite words if it relates to metals and things. Like I said, I'm a businessman. No catalytic converter gets me up to 18 miles per gallon on the downhill and throws out cool-looking exhaust in my rear view window. Out of sight, out of mind. Ain't my problem. So what if the world has one less catalytic converter to filter out particles I can't even see? Particles. There's particles, they don't count.
Sure. And can you share with us why you chose this specific vehicle for your family?
Sure, to me it's all about looks. People see me and they think, that's what I'd like to have. It's prestige. I should have opened a dealership.
Thank you for sparing us a few minutes of your valuable time, Mr. Fordosaurus. Your testimony, strange as it was, has been valuable to this trial.
Good.
You may now climb down from your high horse, Mr. Fordosaurus.
Okay, let me see if I can get this thing started.
Your Honor, I now call Ms. Gulfstream as a witness. Welcome, Ms. Gulfstream. Could you please tell the jury how long your route is?
I journey up and down the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans without ever stopping. They call me the ocean conveyor belt. It takes me 400 days to go from Florida to England.
You make this long journey non-stop?
Yes, Your Honor, I've been doing this for thousands of years. It's my life's work. I'm best known for moving warm water north to England and the rest of Northern Europe. As long as I keep moving my water paths, Europe stays warm in winter.
Objection, Your Honor. Ms. Gulfstream is straying from relevant testimony. In fact, she's straying all over the court. Can you please get her to sit down?
I'm going to agree with you on this, counsel. Request granted. Ms. Gulfstream, may it please the court that you take a seat, just like we learned in kindergarten. None of us can focus with you in constant motion.
I don't think you want me to do that, Your Honor. In my case, it's just not a good idea.
And why is that, Ms. Gulfstream?
I'm trying to warn you.
This court, unlike you, is unmoved. I insist that you take a seat.
I'll make this brief for the sake of us all, Ms. Gulfstream. Can you please tell the jury in more detail why you must dance right away, even
So I turned back south again to get warm. But a couple of things happened. My cold water is now heavier than the warm water still heading north. So it sinks down or sublimates out of the way. Also, some of my water is freezing into sea ice up there. Remember the Titanic? Forcing the salt out as it freezes. This makes the water even saltier and heavier. This also helps to sink the water going south below the level of the water coming north. Can you follow all this, ma'am?
Yes, and please do not call me ma'am. I can. But I suspect that the rest of the courtroom is only going to understand this while you're still seated.
I just want to chill. I just hope it's not the big chill for the planet.
You're just beginning to feel the important work I do. Great Britain is the same latitude as Siberia. If I don't deliver the warm southern water, they'd be ice skating year-round on the Thames. I deliver 27,000 times as much heat to Britain in the winter as all their power plants put together. Pretty impressive.
But please tell us what is happening now.
World's people are burning so much fossil fuel that the northern climate is warming faster than anywhere else on Earth. The melting polar ice in northern Greenland is diluting my salt water as the ice melts. My salt water needs to sink, but it's not. If it doesn't sink, we're sunk.
Please continue.
I'm slowing down by almost 30%. I'm slowing down. It's frustrating after all these years of getting plenty of exercise and running around the earth.
It's frozen. My water is frozen.
I tried to warn you. When I stop moving, it gets COLD cold.
You've convinced me to change my mind, Miss Gulfstream. Please start moving again.
Yes, please start moving again.
Please remember, I'm not the one producing emissions. This court needs to talk with world's people. It's all up to them.
You have been most helpful, Ms. Gulfstream. Just as you breezed in here, you can breeze right out, and please keep breezing.
I'll do my best, ma'am. Toodaloo.
I now call Mr. Coal-Fired Power Plant to the stand, but I really do not like this guy.
I get that you don't like me. I'm ugly, I smell bad, and I have bad breath. But I was the fuel for the Industrial Revolution in America. I powered the trains, heated the homes and factories, and still, to this day, produce electricity.
You think you're pretty patriotic, don't you?
Yes, indeed. 100% American, addicted to a large carbon footprint. Just like a junkie shooting up and risking death, we people are addicted to our energy consumption, which can cause our 6th major species extinction.
You have a cousin in Bow, New Hampshire I don't like either. And digging for coal underground by removing mountaintops in the Appalachians is pure pollution. What's natural about that?
Objection. Mother Earth is prejudicial and is all over the place, and this evidence is killing my case.
I'll allow this line of questioning for now. And you can use a good bath, Mr. Coal-Fired. As they say at my weekly poker game, down and dirty, read 'em and weep.
I am weeping. But I take consolation that you provided 51% of American electricity in the year 2000, and now you're down to 21%. You'll be gone, but not soon enough. How do you even justify yourself?
I can't justify myself. I'm part of the problem. There are 98 new coal-fired plants being built in China as we speak, 23 in India as we speak, 23 in Indonesia, Japan has 150 in operation now, and they're building 20 more. Japan says it will be carbon neutral by 2050. That's like a 500-pound guy guarding the donut shop. Clean coal just is way too much work. All that scrubbing and stuff takes more energy than you. It's just a pain in the ass to clean coal.
Where are these new plants being built in Japan?
I don't rightly know, ma'am. You can't see it on Google Earth because there's this funny black cloud right over the country. Heard of the black hole in Calcutta? This is the black hole of Honshu and Hokkaido. We might need Stephen Hawkins to find Japan.
Wow. This is a bigger mess than when Godzilla torched Tokyo. Can we at least start by telling your cousin in Bo to make a tree and leave? Oh, I forgot. Wherever you are, there are no trees.
You got me there, but oh no, ma'am. We're literally sticking around the New Hampshire we're literally sticking around. The New Hampshire legislature approved my cousin as the backup energy plan in the state in case we get hit by the blizzard of '78, a tsunami at Hampton Beach, and a hurricane coming down Franconia Notch, all at the same time. Remember Texas last winter? Gotta have a backup plan.
So, please don't call me ma'am. And how long do we have to put up with this backup plan?
Only until they strike oil at Hampton Beach. I bet there's tar sands right under old Strawberry Bank.
There's a reason they call you a fossil fuel. If you continue to pollute the earth and the sky, we'll all be fossils. A coal-fired plant emits as much CO2 in an hour as a person does in 26 years. Leave and never darken my towels again. Go, shoot.
The witness can now step down. Thank you, Mother Earth. Are counselors now ready for closing summaries?
Yes, Your Honor.
I am, Your Honor.
Please proceed with your defense, Counselor, such as it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, honored guests, I stand before you embarrassed as a member of the legal profession, embarrassed that this proceeding has forced you to sit and listen to some of the most blatant, pseudoscientific drivel that I have ever heard in a courtroom. I ask you, does Mother Earth expect you to believe that glaciers melting in France are caused by your driving a Fordosaurus to the grocery store here, in this town? That what happens to Ms. Gulfstream while jogging in northern Greenland affects the price of eggs? Let's be honest about what some environmentalists are reporting from a few isolated corners of the globe. Mother Earth, despite her whining today, has been waxing hot and cold for millions of years. That happens to middle-aged women. It's neither fair nor scientifically accurate for her to complain that warming is caused by the daily activities of world's people. In closing, I hope intelligent men and women such as yourselves have not been taken in by these ludicrous fictions and false charges against my innocent clients, world's people. Fossil fuels give us internal combustion transportation, heat for our homes, and the invention that shows no signs of stopping, plastics. We're talking hundreds of thousands of lucrative jobs lost if we do away with fossil fuels. Please save any waste of your time and mine and vote to declare world's people innocent of these silly charges. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Defense Attorney. The floor is now yours, Mother Earth.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I had hoped to call more witnesses today, but Your Honor's need to make a 3:30 golf date caused me to limit my list of witnesses. I would have called Hurricane Katrina, who would have testified that the warming of the Gulf of Mexico and the North Atlantic was responsible for her ferocity and for the frequency and severity of her fellow hurricanes. I would have called Mrs. Polar Bear from her home in the Arctic, who would have talked about having to swim up to 60 miles to gather food for her family. How would you feel if your grocery store was that far away? I would have called Mr. Dry Drought, who would have told you that although some parts of the world get too much rain, other parts are parched dry. America's breadbasket is drying up. I would have called Ms. Coral Reef. She would have told you about Australia's Great Barrier Reef that is dying after being alive for 18 million years. Reefs all over the world are turning white and dying because of a small rise in the ocean's temperature. This prevents algae from blooming in the reefs, giving them their color, which attracts small fish to eat the algae. The bigger fish eat the little fish, creating a food chain. The coral reef is not just pretty, it is indispensable. As you know, I have been around for a long, long time.
Oh, we know.
You're welcome. Time far past your understanding. And during that time, I have kept myself reasonably in balance. The defense attorney is correct in saying that over eons of time, I have had many changes from hot to cold and back again. What he neglected to remind you, however, is that when I changed temperature, it took thousands of years, sometimes tens of thousands. But not this time, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Since world's people's industrial revolution, the amount of warmth producing gases in my atmosphere has climbed to the highest level in 650,000 years. Global warming is not new. Scientists were alarmed by the rapid increase in greenhouse gases since your 1970s. Yet the people have not changed their behaviors in any significant way. That, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is why I'm bringing charges. I won't tolerate it, and neither should you. As long as I receive energy from our sun, I can live and adapt. I always have. But I must warn you, and out of my affection for you, my methods of adapting may be such that I can no longer sustain and support world's peoples. If such is the case, I will miss world's people. They've been fun. But in many ways, they have not been good to me, so I may not miss them for long. The dinosaurs were fun too, but when they were gone, I missed them for about 10,000 years, just a mere blip of my lifespan. I hope that in your deliberations, you will consider the future stretching out before the children of the world. With that sincere wish, I close with these words from author John Acheson. Our children may forgive us the debts we're passing on to them. They may forgive us if terrorism persists. They may forgive us for waging war instead of peace. They may even forgive us for squandering the opportunity to put the nuclear genie back in the bottle. But they will spit on our bones and curse our names if we pass on a world that is barely habitable when it was within our power to prevent it, and they will be right to do so. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, for your respectful time and attention.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now break for deliberations. Please return when you hear my bell. Everyone will please stand.
Now ring it up.
Here comes the most important moment of these proceedings. Are you prepared to render a decision in the case of Mother Earth versus the world's people?
Please signify by saying I am.
I am.
They are ready, Your Honor.
Good. As you all know, the determination of guilt or innocence in a case such as this is determined by a simple majority. Good thing. Bailiff, will you please monitor the count?
Yes, Your Honor.
Will all jurors who have found the world's people guilty as charged for carrying out grievous damages against Mother Earth and limiting her civil rights to a fruitful existence so signify by saying aye and raising your hand?
Aye.
Thank you. Will all those who found world's people innocent of the charges so signify by saying nay and raising your hands? Thank you, Bailiff. What is the final verdict?
Your Honor, the jury has voted to find world's people guilty of Mother Earth's charges.
Thank you. Please certify the result in the court records. Stepping outside my official role as judge of this court, I must say that I am pleased by your fair verdict. Given your verdict, I sentence the guilty parties to extensive community service, the length commensurate to the service and efforts needed to substantially lower greenhouse gas emissions. Mother Earth, I leave the details of this community service to you.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. And I will do this with pleasure. I have 3 community service actions that all of world's people in the developed world can do to further limit harm to me. First, when you are driving, drive more slowly, commute with a friend, don't drive when you can, ride a bike or take a bus, as the defense attorney pointed out earlier today. You want to conserve energy. Secondly, reduce the amount of meat that you're eating. The meat really contributes to the generation of greenhouse gases around the world, and the agriculture associated with feeding those animals that you are eating takes up a lot of toxic chemicals that are used to create the agriculture needed, which also has an impact on the earth. And third, I think that you should all, in New Hampshire certainly, be getting an energy audit with New Hampshire Saves. They will go in and check and find ways for you to save energy in your own homes. And the legislature has approved funding for that, so take advantage of it now. Thank you for the help I know you'll give me. I truly hope we can live together for a long, long time. But remember, the choice of whether we can continue to live together is yours, not mine.
Thank you, Mother Earth. I charge each person to carry out all 3 of Mother Earth's community services. You are all on probation with this court. If my probation officers tell me we need to reconvene again, there will be hell to pay. I thank all of you for your excellent work today. I declare the trial concluded and the work of International Court of Last Resort finished, hopefully forever.
All rise.